We're going through a period in the city of Philadelphia that is very, very crucial. It is so important that our children attend high quality schools and have the tools and materials they need in order to be educated. This city will not prosper, it will not move forward if we do not have an educated workforce. It's time to end the cutting of programs that are so important to educating our children.
But I'm not simply here as a pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church. I'm also here because I am a wrestling coach at Martin Luther King High School. My commitment is that I'm in the schools. I'm around those that care. I'm around children that have promise and possibility, but they need the right resources. There are schools in our midst right now that are doing a great job because they have the resources. We just want to make sure that those resources are available to every child, to every teacher, in every community, so that we can produce the type of people that Philadelphia is known for. I'm here because this is a moral issue. We're gambling with our future. The governor has chosen to fund prison construction and at the same time cut public education. And at that rate, we'll certainly need all the prisons that he's building to hold our future as we divest in the future and invest in something that is absolutely immoral. I'm here to also say that we cannot balance this budget on the backs of teachers. This is an attack not only against teachers, but an attack against women. When you consider the fact that 84% of public school teachers are women, would we do the same thing and go after the same unions if they were the police or the fire department? We cannot balance the budget on the backs of our mothers, on our daughters, on our sisters, on our aunts. This is immoral, it's outrageous, and it's wrong. What we need is the governor to find a funding formula that is fair, that is balanced, so that whether you live in Lower Merion or in Southwest Philadelphia, you are guaranteed the same access to quality, high education that will benefit all of us.
We are tired of elected officials who come and who make promises. They're concerned about making sure that Philadelphia is a great city. But how can we be a great city if we don't have great schools? How can we be a great city if we don't have the proper counselors? How can we be a great city if we don't have the resources in our schools? So we're calling upon every elected official really to get off of their behinds and begin to find the funding for our children. It's critical for our city and it's critical for our future. Find the funding for our children.
I want to come one day when it is sunny, and that day will be when we have fair funding for Philadelphia public school students. The reason we're all here is because we want kids to not only dream their dreams, but achieve them. To have what is the greatest institution in America, which is public education. An institution in America that promises universal access and that fights for universal attainment. That promises to help all kids have access to the American dream. Those are our values. Those are what kids here want. Those are why teachers go into teaching. And those are why parents are here advocating for our schools. That is our community's value. That is a virtuous circle. But right now, instead of having a virtuous circle, we have a vicious circle. We need to break that circle with our values, with our support, with our advocacy, and go back to a virtuous circle. A report last week from the Philadelphia Budget and Policy Center. Philadelphia enrolls 12% of the state's students, but it took 34% of the reduction in state education dollars. Between 2010 and 2012, Pennsylvania lost 20,000 jobs in the education sector. That is the equivalent of 40 manufacturing plants closing in 2 years. Governor Corbett cut more than $1 billion in education funding. And yet, at the same time, Governor Corbett let Pennsylvania companies reduce their tax liability by almost $300 million. Those tax cuts could equal 30% of the total education funding. These are human actions that have happened in this state. Actions that if we had a fair funding formula wouldn't happen. And if we had a fair funding formula, the kids here could have what kids in other places in the state have. The kids here could have access to music and art and the things they need to thrive. AP courses, guidance counselors. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for a pot of gold. We're looking for a way to help kids in Philly get what kids in every single place in America should get, access to a decent education. Thank you.
It's a real honor to be here talking to you on behalf of so many parents of children that aren't yet of school age, because we're not waiting to get involved and caring about the schools. It's important to us now. And what we see is a school that's been stripped of its funding, running as an empty shell. And I can't tell you how hard that is for our work, trying to get more and more of our friends to stay in the city of Philadelphia and to send their children to the local neighborhood school like ours, in Adair Elementary School. A great school, but it's struggling in Fishtown. And so what we're trying to do is spread the message that the 1% sales tax extension should go to schools. By sending it elsewhere, they're sending a message to parents like us that we can't stay in Philadelphia. Anybody with means, the tax base is going to view Philadelphia as a temporary residence, something that you live until you have kids of school age, and then you move out to Bucks County or wherever, or then you send the kids to private school. And so what we're trying to do is say, no, invest in schools, keep the renaissance of Philadelphia going, keep folks who have the means in Philadelphia paying taxes, sending our kids to the local neighborhood schools.
We've always been against education budget cuts, especially when it pertains to alternative education. I go to alternative school, and with all this stuff going on right now, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, knowing that 2.3 million could be taken from alternative education and pushed into something that not going to help us. So what I honestly want to say is that I want everybody to come and support me and Youth United for Change and Yes Philly and all the students of Philly, to find that money and push forward so we won't have to be pushed out, we won't have to be kicked out and don't have nowhere to go if something goes wrong within our regular schools. All the students that are affected, they have somewhere to go and they have somewhere to be, and people that they feel comfortable seeing and they feel comfortable being around. But when you take that from, when you deprive them of that, when you deprive them of counselors, when you deprive them of nurses, things happen. You can't function without certain things. A school is a well-oiled machine, and if you don't have every part of the machine working at the same pace, then it's going to break down.
Thank you, Tone, and that's why we're out here, for Tone and students who are in our schools. I think he made it very clear about the importance of making sure that our schools are funded adequately.